sense of humor, decided I needed time to revise the sermon since last night at St. Paul's. So trying to get home from the last stewardship gathering meeting at Bates' house over in that area, which is people call Town Ridge, maybe, sort of, beyond Vista, beyond the Twilight Zone. Anyway, I got lost and for a half hour wandered in the darkness with a GPS that wouldn't connect and a cell phone that told me I was in a dead place, and all I could hear in the back of my mind as I'm driving in the abyss is the theme music from Deliverance. Thanks a lot. And I did say, Lord, if you are coming again in glory, this might be a good time. I called Peter Bates when the phone all of a sudden clicked in, and just as the phone clicked in, I spilled out into room 124. I have no idea how I got there. I had no idea I would be here this morning. And I learned something last night about what it is to wait and not know what the outcome might be. And that's the theme that you're going to hear for the next several weeks. You're going to actually hear some of it in the Thursday reflection that I just wrote for this next Thursday. These next weeks, the liturgy takes us through themes of longing and waiting and being prepared or not, of staying awake, about the day of the Lord, about life, about judgment, about what the consequences are, about punishment, about righteousness, about being right with God. And they're serious themes. Questions that the early Christians actually asked themselves when they said, look, we're living in a time where our own people don't like us anymore, and the Romans hate us and think we are idolaters, and it's a crime to be a Christian, and all I do is live in terror and fear, and I see my family get arrested and my friends get executed, and is this really all there is? Is this what we get for trying to live a good life? Why bother? Is Christ really going to come back in glory? And what about those people who died? Did they miss out? Has that train left already? St. Paul writes about this, and people remember that Jesus once told a story. And when he describes all of those very serious themes, he uses the image of a wedding. He says, think of a great party. Never forget, most of the time when Jesus talks about what our destiny is the image he repeats most often, it is a great party. It is a wedding feast. Okay? Gospel of John says the very first time Jesus ever worked was he took water and turned it into wine. That's my kind of God. Okay? I mean, seriously. And I have a very close relationship with my counterpart in the Methodist Church, and I kind of run his face in this one all the time. Okay, about wanting. You get it. All right. For those of you who don't know, hang on to the adult series. We'll learn something about the Methodist Church. But we don't really understand just how terribly oppressed life was in that first century, especially for those early Christians. And you want to talk about something that we really focus on incredible joy, incredible happiness. It's a village getting together to celebrate the wedding of a young couple. And then Jesus adds sort of an unusual twist. He tells this, he makes reference to something that went on in the culture that we don't understand, because we have no reference to it outside of this parable. It has something to do with other young women who participated in the service. And don't think of it as bridesmaids the way wedding parties today. It has nothing to do with that. Bottom line is we don't know what their role was in the wedding ceremony ritual, because there was no ceremony. A wedding was celebrated when the bridegroom, the guy, left his home to go to the bride's father's house to pick up his new property, which was her, and then go to his home. And that was the actual ceremony. What you see in Fiddler on the Roof, under the canopy, that's going to develop hundreds and hundreds of years later. Okay? So Jesus makes reference to something that occurred, and I can honestly tell you, when you study the scriptures, there have been commentators and scholars and mystics, thousands of trees and zillions of pieces of paper have been written by experts who explain what it was, and I had to read so many of them. And all of them are, well, they range from the super serious to the super silly. I have read about this being some sort of puberty rite. I have read about this as a first century Aramaic version of the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. I don't know. I think it's kind of, I agree with you. It's silly. It really is. But you miss the point. And here's the point. We believe that the Lord one day will call us to himself. That our time is limited. That the Lord will one one day come in returning glory to judge the living and the dead. We say that in the creed. And whether you live to see that day or whether you pass on into eternity before that day happens, the message is really simple. Be prepared. Live your life as though Christ is coming for us today. Why were these so-called half of the group called foolish? Not because they fell asleep, because everyone falls asleep. That's a metaphor for failure. Okay? We all fall asleep on a spiritual journey. We're all sinners. We're all flawed. We all fail. We all disappoint each other. We all disappoint the Lord. We'll, say it any way you want. The fact is, the failure on their part, the ultimate failure, is thinking you can live your life on your terms and not on the Lord's. That you control time when He does. We all know we're going to die. We all know someday we're going to stand before the Lord, but it's always someday. Someday's out there. It's way, way away. But someday could be noontime today for one of us in this room. We don't know. I don't know. So the message is really simple. It's about faith. It's about charity. It's about living the good news and living into the good news. It's not just about holy words. It's about a holy life. Because that's what leads to holy dying, if I can quote Jeremy Taylor. So you want to take two things home one day, or just two parts of the message? Real simple. Number one, remember there's some things you just cannot keep putting off to the last moment. Okay? You can't study for comprehensive exams on the morning thereof. Trust me, I know. You can't cook a Thanksgiving dinner starting at 2:30 in the afternoon if you told them it's going to be ready by 3. And you can't live into Christ's love and forgiveness if it hasn't been a part of your life all along. If you keep turning your back on the Lord, eventually someday He has to respond, I accept that. If this is what you want, I accept it. The other thing to take home with you. There's some things in life you cannot borrow. You cannot borrow someone else's faith. You cannot borrow someone else's character. You cannot borrow someone else's relationship with the Lord. It is yours to nourish. It was given to you on the day you were baptized. It is yours to keep hold of or to let go. So what's heaven like?